Perfect. Daily meditation, only one course at a time, private rooms, and fresh meals. That sounds like a paradise. However, you can find all of that at Maharishi International University. And today, our guest is Coach Paul Stokstad, who will share all of the secrets of a unique school in Iowa. Thank you so much for joining today.
No problem.
We will start by talking about your background. So before we jump into strategy and your program, what's your tennis origin story? Were you the kid with the racket bigger than your head, or how did you start to play tennis, and how did you start to coach?
Well, I'm that story where your older brothers are amazing tennis players, and I was like the runt, the not so good. My father was a tennis pro and tennis coach, a basketball coach, and he's in the Iowa Tennis Hall of Fame, believe it or not. And both my brothers were state champions. I had a brother who was seeded 8th in a national tournament when he was 13. And so my older brothers, great tennis players. I said, I'm going into football. Forget tennis. I'm just going to do something different. So I didn't really get started early until about age 12, which for, a serious tennis player is kind of late. But then I helped my father a lot teaching. So I was basically, my brothers would be at the tournaments, but I would go to some tournaments, but mostly I was teaching and helping teach at the country club. I was assistant tennis pro, all that. And then I didn't play college tennis like they did. I was a hippie, just had fun, But then I did, when I was moved to California for a while, I was an associate, I was trained at Cote Casa, which was Vic Braden's place. Vic Braden was pretty famous back in the day, and was an alternate there. And then I just started, when I moved back to Iowa, I started teaching lessons, group lessons for a lot of kids. There was a very active tennis program at the high school here. We had many state champions. This town is a little unique. We pull people from all over the world because of this meditation, this transcendental meditation. People come here for high school, they come here for college. And so this community had a lot of very high-end tennis players, and we had really successful high school tennis. About 25 years ago, we had a successful college team, but we haven't had college tennis for a long time. So this was our first year coming back to college tennis. But so I am, however, certified US PTA, it's now US RSA, elite tennis pro. So I did do a lot of teaching at country clubs, but usually part-time, because my main career was web marketing, writing, communications. I'm a writer and a, kind of a web guy. And so tennis has always been a sidelight. But when the university said they wanted to open a college tennis team, I said, well, I'm available. We have a couple of other really good pros in town, and usually I say, hey, they don't have day jobs, so I said, work with them. But mostly as an adult, I focused on playing tennis, because as a kid, I had to help teach tennis.
Mm-hmm.
But as an adult, I really got more interested in playing tennis. I'm actually in a national tennis tournament this year for seniors in July. And so for me, actually, the great joy is to play. But so when I'm coaching, it's like we're all growing in tennis together. And then the latest thing is this thing I'm working with a guy named Steve Yellen, who has written a book on kind of sports psychology called Flow Factor for golf. And also he's working on a book for tennis. And I'm working with him with a book for pickleball. So we're looking at the mental game of tennis.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other side. So that's another big growth area for me, as well as for our athletic programs.
And I saw that you have a couple books that you wrote yourself, right? That are selling on Amazon, I want to say. Is it correct?
Yeah. Most of my books are on Amazon. I've self-published a book on tennis, a book on improv theater, as well as a couple of poetry books out. Those I didn't self-publish. The tennis book was self-published. But So yeah, I got some poetry books out and, stuff on my website, just my name, Stokstad.com. There's a bunch of books. But I'm working on a new one with this guy, and I have a web marketing company called Duckbite, DUCKBYTE.net, Duckbite, where we published an anime book. Anime, mostly AI generated, an anime story set in 2091 in Tokyo. So a lot of visual stuff, a lot of verbal stuff. So that's kind of like my area, visual, verbal, using a lot of AI right now. And that's more my other side, my professional side in terms of marketing, web marketing. But on the tennis side, mostly we're working on personally developing this inner game capability and then also transmitting it to my students. Yeah.
You just shared so much information. I have so many questions to you.
Okay.
So first of all, how did you get into writing in general?
My mother was actually a poet and
wow.
amateur poet. And so my BA was in literature, and then my master's degree work was in literature and linguistics. So I got really interested in language, and my favorite thing is to say thank you in everyone's language if I can. And I've forgotten the Ukrainian thank you, but you remind me?
Yes, it sounds like дякую.
Дякую.
Perfect.
Дякую. Okay, so thank you. So I think people love to hear their language. So I'm very fascinated by languages. And sometimes when I communicate with my athletes internationally, I send them a little message in their language. That always cheers them up, feel like and of course it's getting help from Google. But as far as writing goes, in college, I just started to do more poetry writing, and I was in the undergraduate poetry workshop at the University of Iowa, which is really famous internationally as a writer's workshop. And so I've done a lot of poetry work. I also have done a lot of improv theater, improv comedy. I've taught improv comedy. I've taught improv theater. And then on the graduate level here at this school, I taught web marketing, advertising, copywriting, poetry writing. And so I've been all over the map verbally as well as visually, but I got on the web very early, about 1996. So I've been doing websites since then, but right now we're in heaven because of AI. It's much easier to do marketing and beautiful, gorgeous artwork and virtually for free. So that's the other side. But yeah, writing is still a thing for me. I still basically publish a lot on Facebook, little commentaries and poems and stuff. But whatever.
That's awesome. It's so different from like typical activities that tennis players would do. So that's interesting side of you, that you're so into this more, I don't know how to put it better in words, more like artistic part as well. I know you mentioned, and I read on your website, that you won a senior tournament. What keeps you to have fire for tennis?
The thing is,
keeps
I'm
you
gonna go back to
motivated?
my father was a tennis pro, and he didn't start till tennis quite late, but he became a really good coach. But he had a phrase he used called being a student of the game. Being a student of the game. You're really trying to learn this thing. And for me, there's two sides. There's the technical side, and then there's this inner game side that I'm working on, in this particular school with this particular angle we have. And on the external side, there's this sense of you're tweaking your game. What if I try this? What'll happen? What if I try this? And really, it typically happens in your living room. You go, if I did this, maybe this will happen. And then you have to go try it out in the court. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for me, there's a fascination with the technology of the shot, to get the maximum power and the maximum spin and the maximum kind of reliability, and how you can make this very complex behavior more simple. Because as you know, tennis is a high entropy environment. The thing is, as I say, there's two kinds of tennis players. A tennis player who, because they're good, won't hit the ball to you, and a tennis player, because they're bad, can't hit the ball to you. So the point is, the ball is never really coming to you. So what I like to work on is packing the gap between the shots, because we all have a forehand and a backhand. For example, is it Karina or Karina? What is it?
Karina, yeah.
Karina, okay. So I have my Karina forehand and I have my Karina backhand. And so that's the shot I love to hit. If I can hit my perfect Karina back forehand, great. Ball machine right there. But the problem is sometimes you have to run around and hit the Karina ball over there. So what I don't want to do is have Karina forehand 3.6, Karina forehand 3.7, 3.9. I want Karina 1.0, the simple one. That means I'm going to put more movement in Karina's game in between the shots. So when she's hitting the ball, she's totally at peace. She's totally in the groove. She's hitting the real Karina forehand instead of something she made up on the spot. Because most people are improvising a new shot for every ball. If a new tennis player has 78 shots for 78 balls, but the pros probably have about 8 shots overall that they apply over and over and over because they get in position. And getting in position is what's fascinating. How do we get in position? So we're in time for the ball. And then what is my shot? Do I really know what my forehand is? Do I really have the established Karina forehand, or do I have something I keep modifying? So it's that variable, these variables, the two variables, one, movement and technology of my shot. That's the surface, okay? And then the deep part is Karina has been putting in tennis, in putting money in the bank all these years, hitting her shot. And does Karina have that shot when she's in competition? Is that available to her? Is that available? Because there's this possibility that Karina, the supervisor, is getting in the way of Karina, the player. And what I work on a lot is to make it so you're not interfering with what the body knows. The muscle memory, the body knows a lot more about hitting than you can tell it. Because what happens is the prefrontal cortex in the mind, and this is where the tennis thing we work on, the prefrontal cortex is the area where you have a sense of time, a sense of self-image, and a sense of judgment. And the prefrontal cortex can make about 1 or 2 adjustments in a second. Whereas the cerebellum, which is where all the muscle memory is, the cerebellum, the amygdala in the brain, is where all the calculations of physicality take place. And what you really want is the prefrontal cortex turned off and the cerebellum functioning. Because the cerebellum, the amygdala, can make hundreds of calculations in a second. And if you're watching the ball up to the actual ball, and the prefrontal cortex is not active, then the cerebellum has this flow experience. And that flow is where Karina accesses all the money she's put in the bank from hitting thousands of shots. But the prefrontal cortex, and you can know whether the prefrontal cortex is dominating because there's judgment. There's a sense of hurry. There's a sense of self-evaluation, because that's, again, self-image, sense of time, sense of judgment. All that is prefrontal cortex. And when you're judging how you play tennis, when you're evaluating how you're playing tennis, when you're telling the body, hey, hit the ball like this, the prefrontal cortex is messing up the system that the cerebellum knows how to do. And so what we work on is what we call stress-free tennis, so that you can access all the money you put in the bank. Because if you can't, you get over there to hit the shot, and all of a sudden you can't get your money out. Imagine some people have an inner coach that is so negative, constantly berating themselves. They hit up and miss the ball and go, oh my gosh. And they go, what's wrong with you? And that inner dialogue, I mean, the inner coach that some people have, that person would be fired if they were a real coach because of the things they say to themselves. And so all that inner noise is what we need to kind of calm down, get that inner noise out so that people can access what they already know. And you've had that moment. You've had moments when you hit the ball, you go, what was that? And the perfect example of this is when a ball comes to you on a serve and the ball is 6 inches out, you hit that ball back with total freedom. It's amazing. Yeah, perfect. Here's your ball back. Yep. The ball's in. All of a sudden, you're tightened up. You don't know what to do. Okay. But if the ball's 6 inches out, you're a tennis god. Woo, okay. But if it's in, oh no, now what? So that's the experience we're talking about. So yeah, I'm working on the technical side of tennis. Sure, for sure. We'll look at your serve. We'll look at this. We'll look at all that stuff. But We want you to be free on the court. And I believe that people have forgotten how to play tennis.
Mm-hmm.
They're working tennis, they're fighting tennis, they're warring tennis, they're doing all that, but they're not playing. And so where we're going with this is in a different direction from most programs, because we do want to give people the technical skills, but we want to give them the freedom so when they're out there, they're not getting in their own way. They're not getting in their way. And that's what our program is about. And that's what I'm working on myself, because in the past, I was very analytical. What do you, analytical. But you can't, no one ever hit a ball with their brain. Okay, they hit it with their body. Your brain is more of a support rather than a supervisor. I don't know if you've ever had a supervisor, been at work, when they walk in and tell you what to do and they walk out, you go, what do they know? They don't know how we do this. And that's what the body is like. The body knows what to do. And it's amazing magic that can come out when the brain and prefrontal cortex gets out of the way, is in support. It's amazing the tennis that can come out.
Yeah, I feel like you just described myself in a lot of your words that you just said, because I have this inner coach that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And I think tennis is, yeah, as you said, it's technical sport, but it's so much about what's going on here, because you can have the perfect technique, you're hitting shots like Roger Federer, but if you fighting yourself in your head, yeah, you can lose match easily. If you come to the court already thinking, yeah, I'm gonna lose this match, it's gonna be tough. Okay, my question would be, do you think it is something that you have to develop throughout certain period of time, the stress-free tennis, or are there any tips that players could apply during the match whenever they start to feel tight, when it's, I don't know, for example, score is deuce, deciding point, what tips could you give for that?
Well, I think that, we do have specific tips that we teach people. Okay. We have specific techniques, and, I mean, it's kind of like, I don't necessarily want to just give them all out, but
Sure.
the point is that I would just say just something simple, because, I kind of work one-to-one with people on this because it's very delicate. And the other thing, before I go, I'll see if I can come up with something that people can use. The other thing is that our university, we have this core technology of meditation. So that also trains the person to know how to access this inner calm. Okay, they do this meditation twice a day, and all the students do it. And so it's kind of like our school. It's not a party school. It's not a drug using. It's not an alcohol school. It's not even smoking. But people are all interesting because they're all in this growth pattern, because they have this inner, they're cultivating the inner quiet, inner calm every day, and then taking it into dynamic activity. It's not just they want to meditate, they want to take that energy and clarity of mind into activity. So that's part of it. There's this deep training of the individual, so they have this kind of inner calm that they can access on the court. So that's A. And B is, let's just say, if I were to tell somebody something quick they could do, just because I don't have time to work with them individually, I don't have time to run through the whole program. We are going to bring out a book on this. We're working on a book, a tennis book, but and there's a video series that this other guy is doing. I've been certified by him, Steve Yellen. He does this flow factor thing, mostly for golf, but now he's doing it for tennis. But I guess what I would say is, just before you hit the ball, have a moment, just a moment of silence, just to watch. Just watch. Instead of this urgency, I have to hit it. Just as it's coming, just as you're about to hit the ball, take just a moment of silence. Rather than this sense of urgency, every ball must be hit, every ball must be hit. The thing is, if we think of tennis as a series of emergencies, then your mind gets faster and faster and faster and faster. What we want is for the mind to get slower and slower and slower, because really, it's about being in the moment. The problem with tennis, and this is also in the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
visually, that the mind is so powerful, so flexible, that the mind is already thinking where it wants to hit the ball. It hasn't even hit the ball yet. So what happens is the eyes start to look where you intend to hit it. You haven't hit the ball yet, but you start to look away from the ball. And the other thing is the mind is it's like a monkey. It's just jumping around. You think, oh, I know where the ball is. It's going over there. And then you quit thinking about the ball. You quit
Mm-hmm.
watching the ball. You start running and I'm going to hit. You've quit even watching the ball. Most people are not watching the ball up to the ball. They've
Mm-hmm.
quit watching 8 or 10 feet away. Oh, it's over there. I know where it is. Don't bother me. I know where it is. The thing is, Federer, everyone talks about the Federer gaze. Federer is still watching where the ball was after he's hit the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's still watching there. He's not checking in and about 2 or 3 feet in front of it. He lets go. Oh, whatever. It's in here somewhere. I'm sure my racket will probably make contact. He
Mm-hmm.
is fascinated with that actual moment. That actual moment. And he knows the ball is going to go in the court or somewhere. He can't affect where the ball goes. Everyone's obsessed. Where's it coming from and where's it going? Who cares where it's going if you haven't even hit it yet?
Mm-hmm.
And people will literally look to the target when they haven't hit the ball yet. And they certainly quit looking at the ball in the air a lot because they think, oh, I know where it is. Don't bother me. I'm busy. Okay? You haven't hit the ball yet. So I'm suggesting just take a moment, just a little pause just before you hit, a moment of silence, and then hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be a quick thing. I mean, there's more. We're going to put out this book. There's all these different things. There's counting. There's all these different things. But just as a quick thing, you want to quit thinking of tennis as a series of emergencies. You have more time than you think. Another thing that happens to people sometimes is their feet get set too quickly. And that's why we say take a lot of little steps because we're trying to get in the Karina forehand, the ideal Karina forehand space. So she's really hitting her ball rather than something imposed on her by somebody else. Somebody
Mm-hmm.
else is trying to mess up Karina's game. They're trying to throw entropy at you. And in a way, it's their challenge to you. If somebody hits a good ball to you, it's because they respect you.
Mm-hmm.
They say, can you do this? And you go, yeah, but can you do this? You're like, yeah, but wow, can you do this? So you're actually inspiring each other. I mean, I know that we're competing, but in a way, tennis players need other tennis players because for God's sake, most of them have gone to pickleball. So the point is, we need each other. I mean, if you don't think Alcaraz and Sinner love each other, they adore each other because they are pushing each other to the heights. They push each other to great height. And if there was no Alcaraz, there wouldn't be if there's no Sinner, why have an Alcaraz? Because if
Mm-hmm.
you're dominating everybody, there's no sense of greatness. That's why the pros are so exciting. They're all amazing. They're all amazing. But what separates them is really this little mental thing.
Mm-hmm.
Who's calm? The joy of Alcaraz is that he has fun even when the other person does well. He
Mm-hmm.
thinks it's great. Look what a great point we did. Where some people are like, damn it, he did good. Alcaraz is in love with tennis. He loves the joy of the whole thing. That's why he's so much fun to watch. Because even when the other guy goes good, he starts to laugh. He's just laughing about the level of tennis that they're experiencing. And you can see it. I can see it. Any tennis player can see what is going on. Is so magnificent technically. But it's the amazing part is that they're playing with millions of dollars on the line. They're still
Mm-hmm.
able to play. And that's fascinating. That's fascinating to watch. Anyway, I'm sorry, I never get excited.
No, that's awesome. I love when people talk. I don't have to ask you 500,000 questions. You just tell me
I go off.
everything.
I go off.
Very good. Uh, yeah, I mean, I agree with you about Alcaraz, and he's having fun on the court. I feel like, especially in college, when you're in most of the colleges, let's say it this way, I feel like a lot of people start to face burnouts just because of the number of matches you have to face and much of the pressure you have to face every single week. So it's really important to keep this joy going.
I think that we're doing tennis completely backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Completely backwards, because our goal is not where's the win.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the win is within. The win is within. The person who's more in tune with themselves, giving themselves more space and more freedom, is more likely to access their real tennis game than the person who's determined and swearing at themselves and mad and berating themselves. That doesn't make you better. That means there's more baggage. You're like walking around with baggage on and all this baggage. We want to be free. And that freedom in the midst of adversity. So the real match is between you and you. It's between you and you. It's between this prefrontal cortex judgment person who's trying to coordinate and the cerebellum that really knows how to do it. So for me, I try to get out of the way. I'm just going to get out of the way and let my body play, because there's a lot of intelligence in the body. And the mind is there in support. The mind is there in support. And so it's a different way of playing. And so my goal is really how much freedom can I have, rather than how the score is secondary. The score is there just so we know whose turn it is. But I'm playing to see if I can, how long during the point can I have this freedom? Mm-hmm. Because what we talk about is in this stress-free sports is the thing called the DNA goal. The DNA goal, it's built in the DNA of the sport that you want to win the point. It's built in the DNA of the sport that you're going to hit the ball to the open court. That's all in the DNA of the sport. But when you have that as the goal, you don't have freedom, because you're not accessing kind of, the freedom to hit the ball. When you're so concerned about the goal, you don't actually access this freedom I'm talking about, this inner freedom. You don't have to remind yourself to hit the ball hard. You don't have to remind yourself to hit the ball in the other side of the court. That's going to be automatic. But if you focus on that too hard, you can have an experience which is, it's called like, you're like directing the ball. I'm going to direct it over there. I'm going to direct it over there. But you didn't really hit your shot because you're so focused on directing rather than hitting your shot. You hit a softer ball because I want to hit over there. You forgot to hit your actual ball. And so what we want is this freedom, which comes from letting the body play. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's my drill.
That, as I said in the beginning, that sounds like something completely different from like perspective on tennis and sports in general.
Right. It is a different, and the question is, how much freedom can you have and yet still play tennis? Mm-hmm. And what kind of an experience can you have? What's the experience coming off the court? We want an experience of exaltation, feeling great joy, the physicality of tennis is like a dance. It's so beautiful. It's so amazing. And the fact that you can run and do these things in space, a lot of people can't do these kinesthetic 3D things in space that you're doing. And it should be an exaltation to do this stuff rather than a war. And if you're warring, you're using more energy, you're weighing down, tennis is a burnout. But you could have an exalted experience, a tennis of great joy, and you're looking at each other laughing at the thing you're putting each other through, because in a way, you're really gifting each other. Yes, you're challenging each other, but you're saying, look, I respect you so much that I have to hit this hard to get the ball away from you. Mm-hmm. Go, really? Well, you should see this shot I'm going to have you try. And so, in a way, we love each other, even though we're fighting each other. No, we're inspiring each other. Mm-hmm. We're inspiring each other. It's the people you play in college tennis. They've been working on the tennis for a long time, and you're meeting each other. You have a conversation that nobody else can have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's such a unique language. Tennis is basically like a different language,
It really is. It's a kinesthetic language, and you're giving them your best, and they want your best. They don't want you to lose because you got injured or something like they want to play your best. And so you're actually gifting the other person with your best. And when you get that mentality, you realize I'm not competing with this person. We're inspiring each other. And if both people have an inspired match, is there a loss? Well, I don't know. Technically, yes. But both people can have a win situation because if they're playing their best, and that's all I really want on the court. I want to win the match, sure. But I really want to have is a feeling that I have played my best game. If I play my best game and lose, I'm not going to feel bad. I did great.
Yep.
Other people can feel bad, but
Okay, maybe this question is a little bit too not deep, but I don't know if you would like to answer it or not. But what do you think should go through players' mind during the game? Because I've heard different theories. I know that some people prefer just to have their brain blank, not think about anything. Some people prefer to have positive talks and affirmations throughout the whole match. What's your perspective on it?
Well, what I'm talking about is actually a process. It's not a switch that you can turn on. It's a process you have to keep coming back to. So in terms of what I'm talking about, you basically have to keep reminding yourself to go for the freedom because your body and your this DNA goal to win and to do everything can pull you out. So as far as what I'm talking about, there's actual mental techniques that we do during the point. There's like mental things we do, things we might say, or things we might do in terms of, and so those occupy you to the point. There's actually something you might say to yourself, or something you might think, or something just to refresh this kind of freedom behavior. And so in a way, those have to be started like every time, maybe on every ball. And so as far as what to do in general for the attitude, really it's the overall intention. And that's what we've been talking about this whole time. The overall intention is to create more freedom. So in the system we're talking about, it's not like you have a lot of time to think of some good attitude or my mind's gonna be blank or something like that because you're busy doing stuff. But the busy you're doing is not for the mind. You understand the mind is in support. It's in support. And so because you have this support mentality, we don't have this supervisor mentality. That supervisor gets in the way. And so since we're in support, we don't, if you miss a ball, you go, oh, that's interesting. Okay, well, let's try the next one. So you don't have that judgment. You go, fascinating. The body did that. Wonder why that was. Whatever. So it's kind of like it's just a different approach to the whole thing. That's not when you realize the competition between you and you instead of you and them. In this system, the other player tends to fade out of importance. When you become obsessed with the other player, you start to, well, what are they doing? Well, how are they doing? I wonder what they're doing. How are they going to hit? What are they doing to me? You start to think about them. You've lost touch with yourself. You're the one that needs support. You're the one that needs understanding. You're the one that needs, to be in yourself. So the whole idea here is very self-supportive. It's not blank. It's self-supportive. And realizing that, you can have disappointments and stuff and well, that didn't go quite right, but that we don't care. The other thing is, you don't want to be like fixing your strokes on the court.
Sure.
You want to be like, well, I got to, because the problem is you make a mistake and go, well, the next time that happens, I'm going to do this. And the thing you never remember the next time. The next time may never happen, or it might be 365 shots away. You go, oh, wait, I'm supposed to do this. Oh, it's over. I forgot again. So it's like, yeah, but you can say, oh, well, because things. Well, I need to get down on the ball. Oh, yeah, I forgot to get down the ball. Oh, I got to keep my eye on the ball. we know all those little things. You can tell you those things but you don't want to spend every point obsessing over the technical thing you did wrong, because then your mind is
Mm-hmm.
filled with, oh, I failed at that, and I failed at that, and I failed at that, and I failed at that. I'm just a failure. Tennis, there's a lot of failure. It's entropy.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, the entropy is their challenge to you. And even if, like I said, if they're no good, it may be worse because they're giving you more entropy
Mm-hmm.
because you have no idea what they're going to do. It's like, I'm sure you've lost to people who go, because like, how in the world did they get that back? I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Is that even fair? They hit that on the frame, it bounced off their head and it came on my side. I don't know. So the point is that, crazy stuff happens. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you just have to go, whatever, that was cute. Anyway, I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, of course. So you mentioned that your athletes have to do like 2 meditations per day, right? So what's
No,
the
no, no,
typical day?
we got a word in there we don't need. It's not have to, it's get to.
I'll rephrase my question.
Okay,
You mentioned that your players get to meditate a couple times a day. Is it
right.
correct? What's a typical day look like for somebody who will be part of your team?
Well, basically, they do that little meditation thing at home in the morning, maybe 20 minutes. And then in the afternoon, sometimes they'll do it in class, you know. Tennis wise, we basically have practice from 8 to 9:30. We have 4 indoor courts.
Mm-hmm.
So we're practicing basically all year, in terms of how many weeks we can. And then sometimes they'll come either early or in the afternoon. They'll either hit with each other by themselves. They'll do challenge matches, or they'll come and they'll do some, working out on like working weights and stuff, kind of conditioning stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a bunch of sports here now, so we do have a central conditioning type person who, if people want to come and work out, but mostly they've got that hour and a half is all we're doing each day. And but again, sometimes people come back and hit with each other in the afternoon. It's up to them. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, they meditate in the morning. They have their breakfast. They come out and they do the 8 o'clock tennis, and then they go to their class. Classes are unusual at this school because there's only one at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So they take but they take all day class. Like some universities, Monday class, Tuesday class, Wednesday class, different class, all different classes.
Mm-hmm.
No, this school you have class from 10 to noon, and then from 1 to 3
Mm-hmm.
all day at 5 days. And then at the end of the month, there's a 3-day weekend. So Thursday, end of day Thursday, no class. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So there's this long weekend,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when we try and structure most of our matches. And so basically, we have practices every day, and then we have matches on weekends.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, again, as I said in the beginning, it sounds like a paradise, you know?
Well, I mean, it would be nice, but I mean, it's great school. It's just a matter of it's just different. There are a few other schools in the U.S. that have this block system. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Cornell, actually in Iowa, and a couple other schools have it. But the one cool thing is there's no finals week.
Mm-hmm.
There's no finals week. You don't have to regurgitate everything you've learned the whole
Mm-hmm.
semester, so you don't have that tension of the finals week because you've gone through classes, boom, 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 boom.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and we have a lot of cool majors, sustainability, this and that, and we're really strong in computer science, business, and writing is strong, and then of course people are interested in this consciousness thing. That's a whole major too.
Mm-hmm.
If you really want to go deeply into the meditation, the history of all that, that's a whole study. And it's just there's a lot of interesting majors, but and we just finished our we've been around 50 years, so it's been a school a long time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And before we jump into the last part, which will be game, is there anything else that you would like to share about yourself, about the program? I know we've covered quite a lot, but maybe there's something else that you would like to tell.
Well, I would say, we are a new program. And so, we are able to do scholarships for international players down to about 15K. domestically in the US, most people with loans and stuff won't really pay anything out of pocket. They'll probably, again, room board, private rooms, private housing, all that, and all the food and stuff. But we are a new program. That means we are not going to attract the 10 and 12 UTR players. We're just looking for tennis players. And if you're not the top player, we'll take you and work with you. Okay. So, and you'll play matches. Whereas some schools, you might be a good player, but you'll be on the bench. Whereas our school, you will definitely play matches, and this first year, we're still, we're not even an official conference yet. We're not going to be an official conference, NAIA, until the second year. So we're going to play some club teams. We're going to play junior varsity teams. Coming to this school this year, you'll be a leader. If you're a good tennis player, you'll be a leader. Okay. I have a lot of players. Some of them have 10 years experience. Some just played in high school. I had some people who showed up in the fall, hadn't played before. I mean, I literally had some beginners. So, this is a program where you will play tennis. And like I say, not a lot of schools of this size have 4 indoor courts. And those 4 indoor courts can be resurfaced this summer. So this is an opportunity for somebody who probably will not get a scholarship in a major school. 60, 70% of the U.S. schools are international players, or more. And, to get a scholarship in the U.S., full-time scholarship, you got to be like number 1 or 2 in your state. It's not that easy. And you're up against people who've been playing in Ukraine from the time they were 5. Okay, and you played a couple years of high school? I'm sorry, Karina's got your back. She owns you. Okay, so the players, internationally, they're hungry. They come in the U.S. and they're good. So right now, our school is going to be, there'll be some good tennis, but if you're high end, the only reason you come to this school and you're a high end player because you want to find out about this mental game and really open up your game in a much bigger way for pro play or whatever you want, or you want to teach tennis someday and you want to have this other understanding of this deeper element. So that's the other side that we have that really is not being taught anywhere else. So I guess that's the main thing. We're not going to be the best team on the planet, except for we'll be having the most fun, we think.
And that's how it should be.
That's how it should be, I think. Okay. So now let's see whether I know anything about anybody. Okay, I'm ready for my quiz.
Perfect. So I have 2 players for you.
Oh my gosh.
First player, this person is in ATP, uses head racket, and is sponsored by Lacoste.
By Lacoste. Okay, I give up. That I have no idea who that is. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll give you another really obvious hint. This player represents Serbia.
Oh, Serbia. I mean, how can I not remember her name? I swear it's Iga. Is it Iga? Not Iga.
ATP player.
Oh.
Someone who is considered to be one of the greatest players in the...
Oh, you're thinking Djokovic? Is it Djokovic?
Yes.
I forgot. I was thinking women. The Joker.
Joker.
100th Masters, 100th tournament, I think.
Okay, and for the second player, plays for WTA, uses Yonex racket, sponsored by FILA, and represents USA.
FILA. It's not Ben Shelton, is it? It's not Ben Shelton. It's got to be, what's his name? What's the other guy?
No, it will be the women's side.
Oh, it's women. Oh my gosh. Definitely not Ben Shelton, that's for sure. Okay, who's got FILA? Represents the USA.
She just
Coco
lost.
Gauff?
No.
No, not Coco?
She just lost in the first round she's ranked number 9 right now, and she lost in the first round of US Open with a score 6-0, 6-1.
Oh my gosh. First round. 6-0-1. This can't be Raducanu because she's British.
But the name is the same.
Same country?
Same name, Emma.
Sorry, I'm blanking out. Emma.
That's all right.
Emma. It's not Raducanu.
Her last name starts with N.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna fail here. Who is it?
It was Emma Navarro.
Oh, Navarro.
Yes.
Yeah. I always think of her as being Hispanic. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, her last name sounds like someone from Spain. I was surprised when I found out that she's from the US. Well,
I
hey.
realized you should have tested my wife. She's better. She watches more tennis than I do.
Hey, you still got 1 out of 2, so 50%.
Oh, you give me a big hint. Give me a big hint.
Well, honestly, that's all I got for today. Thank you so much for joining. It was such a interesting, unusual conversation that I don't think I would have ever experienced with anybody else. There's definitely a lot to think about.
Well, thanks so much for doing this, and I hope that people find it a great service. And the main thing is, I would just say, let's remember to have fun. Okay?
Yep, that's so true. And for all of the listeners, I will add a bunch of links for school website, for your website, so everybody can learn as much information as they want. Again, your program is so unique and there's a lot to discover. So yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect.